Wade, hello. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you taking out some time, man. Always good to see your face. It's been a while.
Yeah, you too. Long time, but hopefully soon. Hopefully when it's coming up soon, we'll be in Vegas.
Yes, Vegas. Holy cow. That feels like ages ago. I guess it has been a year and a half, which is probably the longest either of us have ever gone
Yep.
without being there, at least in our digital careers. Um,
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks so much for taking some time. And we've obviously known each other for a long time. Some people watching today may not know who you are. They may not know who I am. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. The quick version, I think, is born into affiliate marketing back in 2000, I suppose. And so we were in the mortgage industry, built an affiliate program. That was back in the day when nobody really knew what affiliate programs were. There was CJ and Be Free way back in the Midwest, right? I mean, I guess we're going to date ourselves here. Okay. So, and I revolutionized I always say I revolutionized the affiliate marketing space, but not really, but we did, and what we did is how to grow that program was make phone calls. You actually picked up the phone and talked to affiliates. It was huge. Nobody talked to affiliates back then. So that was successful. That was fun. And then moved on to Prime Q, bought that company, and then we grew that. I came in touch with a lot of super talented people. That was awesome. Grew that, had a great experience, and then moved on to a company that was named at first affiliateprograms.com, which turned into Affiliate Media, which is now Ad Quadrant, one of the largest media buyers out there. And so had a great experience with Warren there and team, and we really just had enormous success. We were in the casino market and had kind of an affiliate summit type conference series, had a magazine, had a bit large forum. And then on the non-gaming side, we had an affiliate network, which was huge. We were in the credit score business, big time, and then started to build our own offers and do that whole thing again. And so exploded in the credit card debt space. And then we parted ways, and then here we are with Forward Leap. Started, I guess, in 2012, which is kind of when I think I connected with you. We were using maybe Unsub Central or something back then. They were plugged in, and so everybody's migrating and talking about you guys. And so we said we need a better solution. So that's when we connected. So that's a long time ago. Right.
Yeah. Almost a decade. Yeah.
So that's us. And Forward Leap is, we're in the leads business. We're the largest tax debt advertiser out there, and calls. So we generate tens of thousands of calls and leads in that space every month. And Solvable was born out of that as a brand. And so Solvable, we wanted to become the largest marketplace in the taxes vertical. And so we're just on that mission every single day, every single week. And so people come to us if they've got need bookkeeping, if they need tax prep, or they have a tax issue, they're going to fill out a form or call us, and we're going to direct them off to somebody that can help them. And then we're developing other products and services along the way with Solvable too. So it's a great name. It's a positive influence, I think, out there in the marketplace, and nobody's really pulling that off properly to go out and really save the consumer money and save a small business money and introduce them to somebody that can, vet them and help them. So that's who we are and where we're going. And, we just continue to grow the team. Been around, like I said, since 2012. So long time, long march. We've taken like the road, like most people. It's a lot of fun. The internet's always a changing, right? It's an amazing landscape. I mean, we didn't have this when me and when when I started. We didn't have Facebook. There wasn't this Twitter. There's this TikTok going on, like how to buy on these platforms and how to turn them into real customers and do it in a compliant fashion is one heck of a challenge, but at the same time, it's just awesome. It's a fun journey to keep innovating that way. So
yeah, absolutely. I think journey is a perfect word for it. And we all kind of, see different sides of it, right? Especially in this digital world that we live in today. And yeah, super interesting to just think how far we've come. It feels like we've been doing it forever. But then when you look at the leaps that we've all grown by and the technologies and the platforms and the relationships, even, it's just, it's hard to sit here and think that we met 10 years ago and all the things that have just happened in that time.
I didn't really have exciting. Any of this when we met, though. You see what this industry does to us, right?
Yeah, well, you had less of that, and I had more of this. So I totally relate, and I hear you on that for sure. Very cool, man. So I don't want to bore everybody with my background too much, but yeah, I mean, my digital kind of introduction came. I was actually working at a restaurant at the time. And a fellow came in with his judo coach and his wife, and he was celebrating having won his age group in a tournament, his 40 and up age group. And he worked for a little company, he owned rather a little company that was based in Charleston, South Carolina, called Aventa Digital. And he handed me, he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "You're looking at it, man. I wait tables. This is what I do. I'm 26 years old." So this is about 16 years ago. And he says, "What do you do?" I says, "Oh, you're looking at it." He says, "No, but what do you do?" I said, "This is the first time anybody ever really asked me that question." I said, "I have a marketing degree. I definitely have some interest in applying that at some point, but I have no idea where I would do that or what I'm going to do." I said, for years, I kind of thought this was my avenue. I was going to be in restaurants. I enjoyed it, fine dining and all that type of thing. And he handed me a card. He said, "Hey, you give me a call Monday." And so I called him. He didn't answer, of course. I called every day for 2 weeks, and he finally answered. I had left him a voicemail every day. He finally answered, laughing hysterically on the other end of the phone. He's like, "You're in. Come in Monday." He's like, "I don't even need to talk to you." He goes, "You come Monday. You meet up with Mike and Kelly Joe." They were his VP of sales and operations manager at the time. I go out to a little strip mall in outside of town, and I'm like, "What am I doing here? What is happening?" So I sit down to interview with these guys. They say, "All right, yep, you're all set up. Come back Wednesday. You're going to go to this address." I go to the address, and it's in the back of a Century 21. It's a sublet room in the back of a Century 21 office. And boiler room style, we are cold calling as well. So as you were starting on the phone calling affiliates, I am sitting there cold calling to drum up business for development. And we were at the time calling it nearshore development, which was Costa Rica, Central America, rather than having to go to India, Thailand. This is again 16 years ago, where if you outsourced, you went overseas. There were really no alternatives. So we built this, what we call the nearshore model. You're operating on central time. And we just started picking up steam like crazy. That company, I was there for about 2.5 years. It grew beyond my capabilities to fulfill what they wanted me to do. So it was amicable split, but that company ended up becoming what is now Accenture Digital, with a couple thousand employees, a full technical university in Costa Rica that graduates hundreds of kids a year in specialized web development programs and languages. It was a super, I learned so much, crash course, big time in project management and staffing and all sorts of neat stuff. And then ended up working for a forward of my own, which was in sports and experiential marketing, and did that in Atlanta for a few years until
we're connected in the universe.
Yeah, the forward connection, So yeah, that was kind of, and then I met the CEO of Optizmo, Chris Thayer, at a mutual friend's wedding while I was working for Forward as well. And we just connected and hit it off and kept in touch. And about a year later, he spun up Optizmo and reached out, and here I am. So that was 11 and a half years ago now, which is crazy to think about, that I started here. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure. I think we can all relate to that one.
Yep.
Very cool. So how is I guess just kind of the last year treated you, man? I mean, we obviously haven't been traveling. What's it look like on your end? How has business been? Have you seen negative impacts? It seems like you're in a fairly insulated sort of vertical. You know, everybody needs tax prep. Everybody has to file their taxes regardless, you know?
Yeah.
So how has that been for you last year?
So, I mean, it was still challenging, right? It's challenging in the sense that the IRS is our biggest marketing machine. So when those letters are going out and they're trying to collect and they're communicating with customers, that those customers have questions, and when they have questions, they find one of our websites. Yeah. And so, you know, for over a year and a half, the IRS has been, you know, almost non-existent. It's been a moratorium, you know, like, and so they've stopped sending those letters out, kind of stopped communication, everything, all resources have been pushed towards stimulus and these other things that they're doing, you know, to try to help the economy come back. And so that affected us, meaning, and then it kind of slowed, but what would happen is that people would still fill out form and they had questions, but they didn't want to take action because they didn't have to, you know, there was nothing they would do. So on the back end, on the, you know, when you go through the supply chain, you look all the way on the back end, you know, there's nothing, it was hard for them to collect money and move forward. So that was the up and down piece. But you look at it and like anything else. So, and then it's challenging. Remember, we have a young group that's behind us, right? So we have a kind of an executive group that's still young, you know, but have been through some of this stuff. So like me and you know, in our world, we talked about this inside the company. We've been through 4 major downturns, you know, the .com bust, the real estate bust, now this pandemic. And so those things happen. And I've been in companies where that's made major effects. And so there's a lot of innovation and pivoting and things that need to happen at a very, very fast pace. So we were all doing that, right? And in our business, and especially us as well. And so I've seen this before and they haven't. And so what it does is it wears on a team. And so when you come out of it, you don't look like the same team sometimes when you come out of it. But at the end of the day, it's a blessing in disguise because it helped us focus, right?
Almost in a way brings about at the end, you know, it's kind of hard to sometimes see the light, right? At the end, yeah. You're kind of in the middle of that dark tunnel, but it kind of helps to create some of that perspective. And just as you said, we've seen some of this before, right? But some of the younger team members that we work with maybe quite haven't been through something, especially so kind of world jarring, right? Yes. As an event like this. So having leadership in place who has seen some of the ups and downs and has experienced that. I mean, how do you feel your team has, you know, kind of galvanized? Has this been one of those kind of events and times where, you know, maybe there has been some slimming, maybe there has been kind of that need to kind of refocus? But how do you feel coming out at the end of it? You guys feel like you've just kind of galvanized, become stronger?
Oh, yeah. I think it's I guess the most valuable lesson we learned is what I mentioned a second ago is really focus. So we went and tried to do different things. We made a few pivots, but at the end of the day, what it did is allowed us to go deeper into the vertical. It allowed us to go a mile deep, not a mile wide, which is what we preached and what we wanted to do. But it's hard to do that when, like you said, you're down in the tunnel and you're trying to put out the fires, but then at the same time, you're trying to innovate. Well, when we came out of this, just much stronger, we knew exactly our systems, we automated our systems. I mean, we've cut our back end. We have this whole technology that we build on the back end that is literally cut people's time by 70%. I mean, that's an enormous cut that we used to do manual or do all this stuff that we've tied in APIs and spit out stuff and all this stuff. So we just got you got smarter, you focused on the messaging for your clients and value add to those people, going down verticals that were really complementary that you could really compete in, and offering things that just need I don't know, revolutionized in the tax space. That, this is an old space. They need some new blood in there. And so it really just helped us really go down there and find new revenue streams too. So heck yeah, we've come out stronger. We're ripping and roaring. We've got life in us like nobody else, right? I mean, it's like it's a whole new vision. And we have like a can you imagine board that we put up there, and all that stuff is still coming to life, right? So yeah, pretty cool. I mean, I think it was the best thing that happened to us. Otherwise, we would have went so wide, and to compete in those worlds, like everybody's niched out so well and they're so deep in their already verticals. To break through those is a very tough thing to do, right? But when you do it properly and strategically, which that's what the pandemic made us do, is think through that. So yeah, it was amazing. I mean, just like our email programs and all that stuff, just innovating, better creative, better copy, A/B testing this stuff, at a frantic pace. I mean, just all kinds of stuff that we put in, that we invested heavily through the pandemic. It wasn't like we stopped for a minute, and then we're like, the other side of this thing is going to be great, right? And so it was like, go, right? Just keep on going.
Yeah, I think there was that moment too where you weren't the only ones, for sure. I think everybody kind of froze for a second, like, hey, what's coming? And just to try to get a gauge, because we hadn't been here before. But no, I mean, that's all, great perspective. It's a great mentality, especially in a leadership position, to have that, drive to keep forging ahead. And, the path isn't clearly laid out, but we can make our own, right? And you can keep driving things forward and control what you can control. And, you'll come out the other end the better for it, for sure. So what are you seeing today, I guess, as far as, you mentioned a little bit about the email channel. What's working? What are you guys seeing out there? Is it email? Is it SMS? Is it, what tools are you seeing that's really helping you grow on that customer side?
Yeah. So email has always been an extremely strong part, for us. But we believe that, and most people can believe, but it's really hard to put the systems together. It's a true omni-channel approach, right? Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, you have to, we're buying media like we've never done before, right? Coming in, and then making sure that that's tracked and optimized and priced right coming in through the system. You got email marketing coming into the system. You've got remarketing that's got to go out on all the different other channels, and how to get that out the door. And so putting that whole machine together, I think, is what lifts the overall boats. And that's just years of work, and continuing to invest and push it through there. And so email is a huge thing for us. And to, we've had to, so like through the pandemic, for example, we had to, because just as I said, you go generate a lead, and I would imagine this happened across all verticals, right? But you go generate a lead, and it goes in, and the customer doesn't want to spend the money. And so now the advertiser goes, well, the leads aren't any good, or something's going on, and it's really not. It's kind of the economy. And in many verticals, this is shot back, right? And ours is kind of the caboose. We're coming on the way back, and thank God we're seeing that, right?
Yep.
And so the thing is we had to layer in kind of these to increase the quality. You had to make your product better, faster, easier. You just had to make a better product. And so to put the better product, we had to look at, well, what do we do? We had to ratchet, if we're using Newstar, we had to talk to our vendors. What more can we layer on? We layered on other data solutions to watch, emails and IPs and where are they coming from? And then we had to layer on, where the customer had to jump through loops and triple verify the phone numbers, and all of this. Yeah. Then not only that, we had to layer on, so there's this fraud stack that you want to call it. So we had a piece of it. We had pieces of it always running, But now it was like, we really had to plug that stuff in and figure out, like, all the way from the top, when the customer, before they even hit, we're tagging them and flagging them. And then you're carrying that all the way through. So you're bouncing out a lot of these people. That's a huge thing. So at the end of the day, your product is kicking ass. And now when the economy is coming back, and this is coming back, you're seeing that your buyers and advertisers and clients of yours are seeing such kick-ass results. Yeah. And so that all had to happen, right? And I think there was, we're validating emails and false form fills, all that standard stuff, right? Opt-outs, right? And one of the things that we kind of talked about up front was like marrying kind of, now you look at Lashback and you go, okay, how does Lashback?
Great tool. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing tool. And you look at that and go, hey, are people compliant? And there's this spike that comes in. And so now your analysts are looking, and we've got these systems, that's what I'm talking about, that automatically flag us. Mm-hmm. And then there's this process that I'll talk about later that prompts our team to always be looking and talking about it. And so now, you get complaints, you go in, you look at Lashback, you go, well, wait a minute, I'm not seeing the data. And then you go in and you go into Optizmo. We use Optizmo and try to go in there. The analyst will go in there and say, well, is there unsubs that kind of spike, right? Because if mail drops, when it hits so much, there's spikes, of course.
Sure.
Well, we don't see that. So we're like, well, is this email traffic? The whole funnel's telling us it's not email traffic. And then you got to go back to the partner and say, what's going on? That's when the relationships come in. You got to really dig in and be straightforward and honest and go, guys, we'll run all traffic. We just have to price it right and put it down a different channel, but don't be sneaking in that stuff. And all that stuff just has to be in place for every major advertiser to scale the email program and slice it properly so that you can deliver it to our clients at the right price, make sure it's compliant, do all this stuff. And so all of that stuff is in play now, right? Which was just in pieces before, which was still great, but now it's really tight.
Well, and what you're talking about, Wade, is a pretty common theme that I hear among folks in the lead gen world, which is, that fraud prevention is just such a huge integral part, because you need to be able to provide quality, right, to those buyers. And you're maintaining those relationships with the generators and through your site and your traffic partners and people who are sending them to your sites and helping you drive those leads through. So the ecosystem there is just so intricate. And there's so many different moving parts. And, we have clients that run the gamut. We have, folks that are in these complex funnels generating leads for, really in-depth products around tech services and insurance products and things of that nature. And we've also got clients who are in purely transactional, type offers where they're selling a tack flashlight or whatever you want to, whatever you want to think of. Right. But, all of those, they all share certainly common problems, and certainly compliance is going to be a key part of it, especially around email and anytime you're, putting content out there for people to engage with or see. But none of these are problems if you don't have customers, and if you don't have partners willing to go and get those customers for you. So kind of taking a little segue, how do you guys at Forward Leap and Solvable, how do you make those offers attractive to your partners? How do you get those affiliates to say, hey, this is where I want to send my traffic to, rather than ABC offer over here or brand or site? What do you find is most kind of attractive to publishers these days? Without giving away too much of your secret sauce, of course.
Yeah. It's not easy at all, right? So if you're coin it with a few words, right, you got to be extremely innovative. You got to have your relationships down, because there's going to be ups and downs, and then just sheer grit to get this stuff done. And, you're competing against other hot offers, other major, what do you want to call it? Verticals, right? So to come in there and have these niches is hard to compete, because you're not able to climb up the ladder and get this traffic, because they're making so much money from the major top 15 offers. And then, you come about, well, but ours does. You got to find which segments work for you and what can produce and make those lists really pop. But at the end of the day, it's about the UX of the site. I think it's the messaging, it's the flow of the website. A/B testing for an advertiser must be a core competency. If I was, usually you're brand new, you're a consultant, you walk in somewhere and you go, okay, let's peel open the hood. Like, what do you have existing that we can start to work with to increase that? But then secondly, it's like A/B do you have enough traffic to do A/B testing? And we got to start there, right? Because those gains are unreal, and it's never ending. And so that's got to be a core competency, working with your partners. So then you got to understand the whole flow. So what happens is, when you're running email and you have partners out there, they're not communicating a lot of how many clicks and opens and all that stuff they get, but you got to partner up with those guys and understand what's the open rate of this piece of creative, what's the click rate, what's the conversion rate all the way down, and then build specific funnels for those particular major partners. And so now all of a sudden it turns into not 4 different offers, you got 25, because you're trying to specifically make it really valuable to them and specific to what their funnels are, right? Or what their user base is. So that's how you do it. And then I think probably the secret sauce that everybody knows or doesn't talk about is you have to price right. So you have to know what it's actually converting at and what the lifetime value is. Nobody talks about lifetime value. They just talk about the initial transaction, what happened that day.
Yeah. What's the
if
pay?
You're a real, advertiser on the back end needs to go, how is this thing looking for me a year and a half out? Right. And am I willing to pay the extra $3 per lead or $5 per lead to bring that through the door, a good customer through the door? And the answer is always yes. So you have to build that stuff out. And if you don't know that and have your data in front of you and be A/B testing. So I think it's, like I said, it's not easy. It's a lot more complicated than when me and you started. What was it? Throw up a website, have a short form, call all your buddies, run traffic.
Yep.
And now you've got sophisticated brands in this ecosystem.
Yeah, no, it was, it's, again, coming back to just that evolution and, you still see, certainly there are exceptions out there that I for sure come across in wearing my compliance hat and some of the things that we see. But, I think some of that kind of short-sightedness has started to exit the space where, a lot of the people that have stuck around and those that have been here for a while, like yourself, have fully come to appreciate the value of that long-term vision and that long-term customer and not sacrificing for that short-term gain. So it's been certainly, I think, from my seat, maturation, if you will, of the space and how especially on the affiliate side, things have grown in that way. Because as well as I do, for a long time, affiliate just had such kind of a negative connotation to it, right? It was this myth of fraud and rampant, just abuse and guys just being, purposefully deceptive and acting maliciously, all in the name of the short-term dollar, right? Putting their brands at risk, putting their advertisers at risk. And when you take that 100% of the affiliate world, that these days is such a small fraction, especially in email. Email is one of the cleanest sources you can find around. But as I keep growing and seeing more in this space and meeting people and talking and just learning, going to shows, it's really kind of encouraging, I think, in a way. I feel like that, just to see that the space has, again, just kind of grown, matured.
And I think you described it great, the maturation. It's like we've grown up with all this knowledge, and now we've seen the lawsuits, we've seen, what's not good about doing this. And you might as well it's not worth the headache. Just do it the right way and set it up and keep working to make it profitable. It's not worth the headache pushing it. Right. And as more and more larger brands explore, email marketing, they need to go with people who understand it, and like us that just are not willing to even play in that game. It's literally, we call it 2 or 3 strikes, you're out. Like it's
Sure.
that mailer, you get warned, and then you're done, and just get out. But then they transfer, and you got to watch that too. They'll transfer somewhere else. And you got to watch that. You can almost see the trends, and then it's like, knock them out again, there is still, but like you said, it's where it used to be so big. It's just that little piece of it now. Right.
Yeah. It's like survival of the fittest, really. I mean, it's a kind of it's almost like a Darwinistic sort of, trait that the industry has taken on. And it's great to see. I mean, that a lot of guys have just come to grips with, hey, I can make X today and still be doing something, working for myself that I enjoy, and have a bunch of free time and be able to work from a beach or wherever you want to be. And still have a job in 5 years, rather than I just need to make as much as I possibly can and 5x it today, but you're gonna get sued out of existence in the next 6 months. Like,
yeah. And I would even, like, talking back to like the partners, right? It's like, everybody's still just have a long-term mindset. Just like you said, it's like, why go make the extra few $1,000 or $10,000 or something for that month or whatever it might be at whatever volume you're at? Like for an affiliate or a one-man band, it's like, why not add that up over a 3-year period or something, right? And just go, hey, I'm just gonna stay there and work with the advertiser and grow incrementally, where I have more time, not changing and ripping and starting all over and doing all, like, why do that? Like, what? It's just not, it's so. I would say take a step back. For what you're going to get 0.07% less conversion on the click through. Like, man, it's okay. Like, you're still going to make some money. It just don't risk it all.
Yeah. We've wised up a little bit. I think
we've wised up. We have technology, we have systems, we have people, and our internal knowledge. We all have this, we all have figured it out.
Yeah. Well, and maybe a space that I think a lot of people haven't quite figured out yet. And I did want to touch on this a little bit, because the last time you and I spoke, you did mention that at some point you guys were going to want to start to explore SMS a little bit, as a source of traffic and stuff. And I think that is one that is still a bit in its infancy. And I think there is going to be some room to grow there, for sure. I mean, there was certainly, we were at Affiliate Summit East just a few weeks ago, or I guess it's about a month and a half now, up there in New York. And that was like the talk of the show. I mean, everybody was talking about SMS traffic. We had SMS meetup with our friends over at Addicted Affiliate, and some other pretty large companies talking about starting to accept some SMS traffic and starting to do some testing. You expressed with me that, like, hey, we're a little, hesitant. Like, it's not quite something that maybe you fully understand. We're not all sure of the rules at this point, I think. And you're going to get different answers, if you go to different partners. I guess, are you guys looking at that still as a viable channel? Is that something that you guys are still going to be looking to test later this year, early next?
Yeah, I mean, SMS, I'd love to. We're just continuing to build out the framework, just like you would for an email program, probably, right? It's like, okay, what compliance is out there? The attorneys need to review the pages and what you can and can't do, and make sure that those guidelines are then published out to our network, right? And make sure that all those guidelines are kind of first put into place. What's the technology stack that we got to put into play to try to track some of that stuff and figure that out, if it's not compliant, so that we can show, anybody that it's the 3 strikes you're out program, and we're monitoring it and not accepting non-compliant stuff. Where to go, like, hey, who are the players, and who's big in the space, and who's doing it the right way. And so we've reached out to those partners, and I guess what we're doing is just like anything, is it's just one step at a time, one partner at a time. Okay, let's set this up. Here's some of the guidelines. Here's, what do you guys suggest in collaboration with them? And then trying to kick it off and seeing how it performs, and what's the rate, and how do we just keep not innovating, but how do we keep iterating through that whole system, so that it becomes something of value. And that's what you want to do. You know, for us, we don't want to, you know, it's a tough one. It's like, you don't want to annoy the customers or your potential customers.
Sure. Yeah. And I think there's like that still kind of that mental connection that we have with our phones.
Yes.
I think is a little bit different than an inbox, right? I mean, even though the inbox is on our phone now and everybody's connected 24/7, but there's still that idea of getting a text, right? And I think that if it's done right, and if you're going to be giving the consumer that ability to say, hey, you know, kick rocks, this doesn't interest me, then I think you can be set up to succeed. And we're certainly seeing that happen. There's been a lot of growth in the channel. You know, we're hearing a lot of great reports from even larger advertisers, you know, folks who might not even expect to be doing it, getting in there and having some success. I think the key personally, something I'd like to see is from the deployment platforms themselves, offering the ability to provide a global type opt-out to a recipient. Because that's, to me, that's the challenge. And I'm kind of going a little bit further, but you know, based off what we had
I like this because
before,
you know, for us, like, we have a service that has litigators and known complainers and stuff on it, and you try to scrub against that. And if
like
that knocks it
Blacklist
out,
Alliance, something like that.
And so we need something like that too, that just goes into that phone number world of that too. And so that we can knock those out, so that we're just, we're staying away and being as clean as you can, you know.
I'll tell you about a really funny conversation that I've had with a good buddy in the space, who I won't name here, but he has made the evolution in his business from being an SMS publisher to an SMS to an advertiser who allows his product to be marketed via SMS as well as email and the other kind of more usual channels. But he you know, 2 years ago, the first conversation we had about SMS and opt-outs, and you know, Optizmo, we have an SMS platform, so we can, you know, help host phone number based lists and capture those phone number based opt-outs and whatnot. But it was really interesting because we were laughing about it a couple of years ago, our first conversation. He's like, we handle the opt-out at the deployment level. It's all within that system that sends the text, right? So if I get an opt-out as a publisher for offer A, this other guy over here can send it as long as it's on a different deployment platform, different, you know, kind of back end system. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense, because if I get offer A and I don't want it, I don't care who sends it to me. I'm the consumer, right? Like that doesn't apply to me. I don't care who sends it. But that wasn't his thought process as a publisher at the time. So very Wild West type of, you know, they were just taking advantage of the lack of clarity around the rules and regulations. Now that he actually owns offers, it's turned entirely. And he's like, no, we have to have a way to have a global opt-out. We're putting opt-outs, you know, even phone number based opt-outs on our website and on our pages. And, you know, so folks can come here and specifically unsubscribe their phone number, which will then add back and distribute our DNC list out to all of our partners to apply in addition to their own internal one. So it's really interesting, because we're taking those steps too on our end to try to build the technology and have that available to our advertiser partners who want to facilitate that ability for the consumer to be able to have that brand offer level opt-out, if you will, you know, rather than just at that kind of deployment platform.
Yeah, and same with, so we SMS our own leads, because we generate them, we get the TCPA, they come through our forums. Yeah. So we've got a lot of that going on, and like there's a lot of scrubbing that goes on there to keep it clean. But like you said, if we're moving out of that ecosystem and want to go with compliant partnerships, we need a global piece to it. It's just like you said, it's a no-brainer. If you're an advertiser, you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I don't, those people just don't want it. If they don't want it, they don't want it. Let's not, let's leave them alone.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yep.
So so SMS is part of it. What's up next for you guys? What other things are you looking forward to as a company? Are you guys, I don't know, anything hiring? Are you going to launch new products? Are you going to, what's the rest of the year in early 22 look for you?
Yeah, it's we just did our Q4 planning, believe it or not, and then we have an early in October. We're trying to end of October, beginning of November. We're trying to get our 2022 planning done. So we usually do kind of a 2-day session. We have like a moderator that like a group leader that comes in, and older veteran in the industry that knows what's up. So that helps us guide through all of that stuff. So that's a lot of fun. And I guess what we're trying to do is, it's build on buying, more media, putting that stack together, more omni-channel stuff. So there's more room to move. So we've had to hire to bring on marketing specialists, right? Because they're all specialists in their certain areas. So it's like, hey, we got it to a certain point. Now we let's see if we can get through the next chasm, right, together. So bringing on those people to help us grow that's in play right now. We've got a few of those people going. So we're monitoring the jumps and seeing what we can do there. Yes, products and services. I don't know. I think what we're trying to develop our own little ecosystem in Solvable, where we help the clients be able to work the leads and train them and educate them how to work the leads, but then also help them contact the leads through technology and stuff as well. And then at the same time, come through and buy our stuff to help their businesses grow. So we're really working an entire ecosystem there and building a community to help them really succeed in this industry. And so we feel that there's quite a bit of growth to happen in that world. And we're just going to continue to push that. And I think that's where we're going with kind of some new products and services in that area. It's not about opening up really, it's continuing to grow the kind of bookkeeping tax piece. You got some big brands that are now looking at tax relief. You got big brands that are now looking at leads that need leads for bookkeeping and tax prep and stuff. Now they're, some of these people still, it's amazing. Like you talk to them and you're like, we'll send you the lead. We'll just post it. And they're like, post what? Post where? And it's like, you're still having these conversations. And these are with people that have 100 million in funding, you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But that's the great part of it. That's the opportunity. That's why this is a long-term play. I guess I just watched and we had Jarek Robbins speak at our event. I'm a huge Tony Robbins follower and all this. And so he draws this, a graph. You got a graph and it's going up and it's your journey. And it's kind of like goes like this and then it loops and then it kind of loops back down here, loops again. And as long as it's going up and to the right, you kind of end up doing these little circles and jumps. And so, but then it goes up. It's like Warren Buffett's wealth, right? And there's this hockey stick effect, but the timeline on there is some 20 years later, some 30 years later. And it's like, people you really kind of, underestimate what you can do in 5 years and overestimate what you can do in a year. And it's like, this thing's a long term for us, I guess. And we're looking at building it and becoming a staple. And so that's exciting. And people, they always want to compare to Facebook or Twitter's or this. Those are the unicorns, man. They're just unicorns. They're 0.0001% of it, right, out there. Yeah. And so if you're able to go build, a 30, $50 million business, that's pretty damn highly successful. And you can live a hell of a life doing that and have some fun and tell some stories along the way. I mean, there's that's okay, you know, and you can even go and you could still have a $5 million or $3 million successful, profitable business and live a hell of a life. So it's about that journey and just staying on that and realizing the loops and all that stuff. So for us, yeah, it's just continuing to build the all-star team and trying to invest in it and just going for it, right? Not just being complacent. You know, a lot of the founders, if they were in it, doing it this long, they leave and get bored and tired and stuff. And no, we're going and rocking and rolling, and it's a lot of fun, you know? So
yeah, keep getting your hands dirty, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's new, like you're building, we're doing stuff that I don't know what to do. Nobody knows. I got a great little thing. Like I sat next to the Twitter founder, right? And I didn't even know I was sitting next to him. We're at this. Yeah, no, it was the other one, right? And so I was in this small conference. There's like 150 people. I'm in the front row. I show up, partners over there. I'm sitting here, and I'm talking. This conversation's going on for 40 minutes. We're talking about life and like where he lives and traveling and then business and what we did in business. And just all I recall is right at the end of it, he's like, you know, when we started, because I was telling him, I'm like, we're going to here. And he goes, when we started, it wasn't even remotely close to what we wanted it to be. It started out being, we thought it would be this. And he kind of talks about that. And he's like, now it ended up being this. And he's like, that's just the way it is. That's business, right? And so I sat there, and that stuck with me my whole life. Well, I go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Here goes more. He's like, do you know who that is? I'm like, no, I don't have a clue. He's like, that's founder of Twitter. Well, then when I come back to the bathroom, 4 minutes later, he just walks out from his seat, goes, sits up on stage and gets interviewed. I'm like,
doing a panel or a keynote or something. Yeah.
I'm like, that's great. You know,
that's a great story.
So it's just a great little thing. And that's how we approach it, I guess, is this thing's ending up, you know, being kind of what we manifested, but you just got to keep going after it. Right. And so the taxes vertical is big. It's the fourth largest tax debt's the fourth largest problem that nobody talks about in the media, right? Behind student loan, credit card debt, mortgage debt, all that stuff. And so we're just going to continue to explore new channels, keep going, make friends, make relationships, and just keep having fun, you know? And maybe one day somebody be interested in it.
Do what you know works, and keep pushing the envelope, and keep finding new things to keep growing. I love it. I love every bit of it, Wade. Here's what we're gonna do. I've got a couple questions that we're gonna do in a rapid fire kind of way here, but just 3, and we're gonna wrap up on this note. So, first one, what's your golf handicap?
Right now, 3.8.
3.8. Oh, geez, killing me.
Yeah.
What exactly? I got to sidebar that. You play a lot.
Yeah, I study the game like I do this whole thing. I mean, don't get me geeked out. I'll give you 1 minute of geeking out, right? So I followed these guys. I found like 3 people. First of all, I've always been working out towards golf. So there's mobility, stability, strength training, speed, and power, right? Okay. I get fitted for all my clubs like you wouldn't believe. I go to an instructor, and I didn't learn this until just a few years ago, that I have to I thought that I had to accomplish what they wanted, but when you visit them regularly, what happens is they continue to tweak. You get into those bad habits, they just get you back into the play. And I found an instructor that had me play more games, that got me playing the game of golf, not just technique. So it got me figuring out how to, if I'm not feeling good that day, a go-to shot, just all kinds of thoughts, not thinking inside my head, just getting out there, just different ways of strategy of what to do there. And the other piece is I started following, podcast and reading. I know this guy out here who documented this whole blog. It's like a mile long, that he went from 5 to a 0 handicap, which is my goal. It's the same thing, exact same journey. And I found 3 guys that documented their journey like that. And it was just and I just dove into the numbers. I track all my stats. You should see, I know everything. And it's like, there's stats that matter in business. There's stats that matter in golf. And most of us don't track those, right? And they don't track them correctly to really make an impact. And that's where I was made the impact for golf. So I geek out about it big time. It's a fun, it's fun going out there and challenging. So, and then I met a great group of guys. You put some money on the line and that makes a world of difference.
Sure. I knew you were a player. I didn't know it was that involved. I am hitting you up for the Apollo Interactive next time LeadsCon is on in a normal fashion in Vegas. We do the tournament at Bali High, and I'm pulling you in for best ball.
Yeah, I love it.
Question number 2: if you're not on the golf course and if you're not at your post as the leader of Forward Leap and Solvable, where would we find you spending your time?
Yeah, family first, right? So family first, and that means, people talk about that as a cliche, but really, man, it's like if the wife called us on this podcast, and usually it's twice, like you're paused, I'm, if it's a 2-caller,
twice,
everything stops.
Yep.
Everything stops. Like they don't, if my parents called me, if the kids called me, the school called me, anything that revolves around that immediate, close family, you're done. I'm pausing you. We're out of here. Right. You got to go take care of that. And so I think that's what family first means to me, right? Developing the values around there and working with the kids to just get better at their sports and school. And my wife's just a badass. She's such a stud. And so hanging out with her and just, we set goals and all this stuff and just try to live life. We did a lot of vacations this week, try to keep working on the house and all that stuff. And so, yeah, you're going to find me, lounging around with them and trying to work with them, and my wife on hanging out with the family.
Very cool. And I would have to largely agree with the family first. I don't have any kids, but the wife, certainly you get those 2 calls in a row, back to back, everything else definitely goes on pause for a minute.
Everything stops. Yep.
Yes. First and foremost. Absolutely. So number 3,
Yep.
most indispensable tool in your technology stack.
I don't know if it's indispensable. I'll tell you what keeps coming to me. That's a tough one because there's ones that that I look at that's different because sure. I'm looking at it because I love revenue and growing and seeing things, innovate and stuff. But then if you really think about it and go down to even an Optizmo where it's like, what? You can't operate. You can't, it can't do it legally, anything, you can't operate. So there's these core things that are in that world, but then there's the ones that are the shiny object. The shiny objects for me are the A/B testing, like a BWO or something.
Sure.
Right. That's because I'm watching the dollars, go to the bottom line and watching the innovation happen on the sites and watching consumer behavior and how you're able to move consumer behavior in real time, right? That's crazy.
Yeah,
and so I think that's allowed you, when you add on these fraud stacks, what happens is you're cutting out people. So what happens is now your offer isn't going to convert as well. So in order to combat that, you better be A/B testing. So it's those, to me, it's one of those 2. And then I don't know what the bottom line is. It's one of these, it's going to have to be something like you guys that keeps you so compliant that you have to stay out of hot water, right? I mean, listen, you get in hot water, you got to present that you have an Optizmo. Did you know that? You have to present that. You can present that if you get in hot water that says, no, we care. We have these tools. And they give you bonus points for that.
Documentation. Right? Yeah. CYA. I mean, a big part of my sell is insurance. And, we are that piece that can come to your aid if somebody ever comes knocking that represents a 3-letter agency.
Exactly.
So yes, we got the answer that we were looking for.
It's Optizmo, and then who's the other one? Our TCPA guy is Janaya, right?
I was definitely baiting you with that one. I was definitely baiting
Optizmo and Janaya, right? And that
Janaya,
stinks
sure.
because I'm trying to give like an answer that doesn't seem like it's like, oh, you're on the podcast, you know, haha. But no, think about it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's what we want. Yeah, absolutely. I'll always take the answer as us, but I love hearing, you know, everybody's going to have it. I think every different type of business is going to have a different answer. You know, it's that A/B testing, it's that through Janaya and watching that, because you've got that funnel, you've got that journey that customer takes from the first touch point to when they become a customer. It's different for you than it is for a transactional company selling a one-off consumer good. So no, it's always super interesting. And thanks for humoring me and playing along there with the end. I appreciate it.
So here's one more thing. We got the fire for Fireside.
True fireside chat.
We were having it right here. It's a little warm in this room, but it's okay.
Oh man, no, that's great. Yeah, I could see it in the reflection there a little bit. I thought I saw it while we were talking. That's awesome, man. Well, Wade, thank you again so much, man. Always good catching up. It's just been a blast talking with you. We will hopefully see you in Vegas. In a shoot that's coming right up on us, man. It's going to be here before we know it.
Yep, absolutely. We'll be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Wade, Schlosser, Forward Leap Marketing, Solvable. Great talking with you, man. And you know,
yeah, can't wait to see you soon. And I appreciate you and having us on and taking the time. It was a great time.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
You betcha. Talk to you soon.